why your vertical is stuck right now and exactly how to fix it. We're going to uncover all the secrets we use to help 500 plus athletes jump higher in this podcast. Okay, so first thing, Tom. So, how did you approach your training when you first started? And how do most athletes approach their training when they're first trying to jump higher?
Most of them, well, yeah, me as well. We just kind of guess and kind of just do whatever we see online, like kind of without any purpose in our training. Like we don't figure out, what we're bad at. We don't know what we're good at. We kind of just see something online. Okay, that's cool. I guess I'll try it. Oh, that just didn't work. Okay, I'm gonna go try something else. That kind of worked. Okay, I'll keep going doing that. Add some other random shit in, and generally you might progress a little bit because newbie gains, but you don't get anywhere significant.
Is that what happened to you?
Yeah, that's literally what happened to me.
Like, what did you do and what happened?
I was kind of just doing random exercises, random, jumps with dumbbells and just like weird shit I would see online. Like I was jumping a lot as well. Definitely was doing that and that helped me a ton. So I was continuously getting my jump reps. I probably added 6 to 8 inches on my vert just from, jumping. But then I hit a plateau and I was like kind of confused. I'm like, do I need to do less jumping? Need to do, more jumping? Do I need to do like, more plyometrics? I didn't really know what my weakness was at that point in time. Obviously I do now, but yeah.
When I first started, I didn't really know what to do or where to go. So, like, the first thing I did was I went online and I looked at what all the best trainers were posting, all the best athletes, what they were doing, and I just simply just copied what they were doing. I just copied the exercises. I even bought some programs and did those. They worked a little bit at the start, but I quickly plateaued and didn't really get anywhere. Because when I first started at 22, I was 6'4" and I couldn't even hit a one-hander, which was really embarrassing. So I was trying to do everything I could to fix that. And like, it worked a little bit, but none of it worked. I still wasn't really dunking. I still wasn't explosive. And even a lot of the athletes we train
Mm.
as well, they take this same approach with things and they tell us, like, we always ask, what did you do prior? What did your training look like before they started training with us? And it's always this, they always do these same things. Everyone starts this exact same way. And they always come to us stuck and frustrated and not progressing and plateaued. And like, yeah, I relate to that a lot because I was in that exact position as well. And you were as well, Tom. Like yourself, Tom, you couldn't even, you're 5'11", and yeah, it's not as expected for you to be able to dunk, but I'm sure, like, how did you feel not be able to dunk and not progressing at that point? Yeah.
Well, I was watching videos online and obviously I saw people like Stephen Selly and like all those kind of guys. And it's like, yeah, that's really cool. I want to be able to do that. Like, how can I get there? And, 5'11", that's not super tall, but it's not super short.
No, yeah. And it is annoying when you're training like so hard and putting all this effort in. Like, and then it wasn't showing like when I went to go jump. And that was very frustrating for me. And a lot of the athletes we trained, they started in the exact same position too. And how did I fix that? How did you fix that? How did all the athletes we train fix that?
I remember I was probably squatting 1x body weight for a couple reps. But like, I remember 60 on my back, feeling heavy when I first got my squat rack. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize it'd be so difficult. Really just building that up over years and years and years has just consistently, that was the thing that broke me out of my plateau was squatting, grass squatting. It just seemed to carry over. And the higher my relative squat went up, the higher my vert did. Obviously, I'm still jumping 2 or 3 times a week, sprinting, doing all that other stuff. But that was also one of the main focuses, getting that up.
So that was a big realization you had. You stopped training for someone else and you started training for yourself and your actual own individual weaknesses. And that was the biggest shift I had and where my vertical really started to skyrocket and blow up. It was when I started focusing in and honing on my weakness, which again was like the speed and skill side of things. I just needed to jump more. I needed to get a more efficient stretch shortening cycle. And once I did that, yeah, things went crazy. And that's the exact same approach and system we use for all of our athletes. And that's how you see some of the transformations we have like on our website and that we share online, like how guys like Hack went from nothing to a between the legs. Like same thing with Harry. He went from nothing to a between the legs. Same thing with Sam. He went from nothing to a between the legs. Like how so many of these guys, even though they thought they were average and they had average genetics, they progressed so much just because for the first time they started training for them and their own unique strengths and weaknesses and focusing on that and that weakness and attacking it. So let's actually jump into that, get some real world examples. So
Yep.
with Hack, he was more of an all-rounder. So how we helped
Yeah.
him go from nothing to a between the legs is essentially bringing up everything at the same time for him. He didn't have a real, like, obvious weakness in one area. He was just average at everything, to be honest. So we focused on getting him stronger. We focused on getting him faster. We focused on getting his jump technique better. We focused on getting his finishing technique better. We got him leaner, everything. We improved literally everything. And that's how he made such insane progress. 3 or 4 months, he hit his first dunk.
Yeah, I think it was about 4 months.
So he was just touching rim when he first started. Within 3 or 4 months, he hit his first dunk. Within
Yep.
6 to 8, I believe, he hit his first windmill off dribble for the first time.
Then he kind
And
of
then
plateaued for a little bit after his first windmill off
he
the dribble.
plateaued for a little bit, which is very normal. Like, it happens sometimes. But then his vert went up again and it blew up
Mhm.
again. And then after 12 months, he was windmilling.
Every
And
session.
then,
Because like he went from one really, really good standoutish day, being a windmill, to hitting a windmill on his worst day. I feel that's a very important thing to say when, discussing performance. Like, yes, you can compare, your best day, but like, now he can hit a windmill on any given day. And then, put him on his best day, then he's doing between the legs. So yeah, his dream dunk of a windmill is now just literally a warm up for him.
yeah. By the way, guys, if you want to find out your weakness, there's a link below. You can figure that out for yourself. That's why we created the jump profile system. So check that out. But getting back to Hack, yeah, we just focused on bringing everything up at once. So, and that's where a lot of athletes fall into, especially most basketball players. So if you're listening and that sounds like you, that's exactly how you need to go about things. So next jump profile is someone that is already strong, but very strong in fact, but they're not jumping high. And that was our athlete, Asan. He was a powerlifter before joining us. His vertical was stuck, it wasn't progressing. So we identified his main weakness was similar to myself, but kind of more, a lot more down the force end than me, to be honest, coming from a powerlifting background. So we needed to focus on
Mhm.
speed and coordination a lot more with him. And that's pretty much been the only focus of his training and what you've been writing his training time. That's pretty much like been every training cycle has been that focus. And he went from like not dunking, barely touching the rim to hitting one-handers off dribble, one-handers off lob, and adding like 8 to 10 inches in 12 months on his vert just because
Mhm.
of that. And it was because focusing on speed and coordination that he progressed so much. If he just continued to get stronger, he would have stayed stuck and it would have done nothing for him.
Exactly, bro. Like, and that's the thing with building elasticity coming from a powerlifting background. Like, it can take time. It's not as easy as just adding 10 kilos to your lifts every single week. Like, building stiffness and elasticity, it can take time. But if you do it in the right way, you can obviously shorten that time and remain injury free, which he has. He hasn't really had a, like tendonitis flare up or anything like that. He's had like, little flare ups here and there because that's just part of pushing the human body. Yeah, if you do it in the right way, you can seriously change how you look in a year's time. Like 8 to 10 inches, that's a completely different human being.
Yeah. So another example is Harry. He's on the opposite end of Asan, the exact opposite athlete. So we had to train him completely differently to Asan. So essentially for him, he was like more of mostly a 1 foot jumper, and he was naturally more of a springy, elastic guy. Now he wasn't really jumping that high, but he did have a little bit of bounce to him. Like he had a little bit of natural spring to him. His stretch shortening cycle was well developed because he had been doing a lot of jumping growing
Yeah.
up and played a lot of basketball. So his stretch shortening cycle was actually well developed. So the hole for him that we plugged was good analogy, right? The hole for him that we plugged was just increasing his horsepower, increasing his raw force output. And that's what we focused on a lot at the start of his training, is just getting him to improve how much total force he could put through his muscles. So then his stretch shortening cycle would have more than nothing to go off essentially. So then he would be
Yeah.
jumping higher, and that's what happened. He went from it took
Not
him
dunking.
1.5 years. Yeah, he went
Yeah.
from not dunking to hitting it between the legs in 1.5 years.
Yeah. Bro, I remember that first dunk session I met him. He came over. I think he was with one of his friends or something. Someone, I think Hack was throwing in lobs or something, and he just kept missing one handers after one handers. And I remember seeing you talking to him after the session. And I think he kind of, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. He was just saying like, he wants to lock in. He's sick of being where he is, and he kind of just signed up from there. And a year and a half later, he like if you taught him on that day, you'd be able to do a between the legs dunk on that day. There's no chance he'd believe you, but there we were, 1.5 years later between the legs.
Yeah, and that's pretty much been almost every athlete we train. They like when they first started training with us, and we told them, "Hey, you would be doing this in the end." They wouldn't believe it. It's kind of insane. Okay, so next one, Connor. He was a little bit different because, like Hack, he had more of a basketball background, but his limiter and weakness, it wasn't as obvious. So we had to do a little bit of troubleshooting for him. And his main limiters were him having knee pain. That was a huge limiter for him, and him just being overweight. Like, he was mostly a 1-foot jumper. And if you're a 1-foot jumper and you're holding extra fat, yeah, it's not going to work. You're not going to jump high. No matter what training you do, you have to lose the weight. You have to get lighter. So for Connor, we focused on those two things. We got him lighter, and he lost quite a bit of weight. How much weight did he lose, Tom?
I think at his most, he would have been like 95 kg, and he's about 80 kg now. So let's just say he lost 10 to 15 kilograms, which is about 20 to 35 pounds. But not just that, he also recomped as well. So even if he stayed the same weight, which obviously he didn't, but he's put on more muscle and lost fat at the same time. So he would 100% have more muscle mass than he did even at 95 kilos, sitting at like the low 80s. No
No, for
shit, he's jumping
sure.
higher, right? Like, it's simple.
So getting him lighter in combination with getting his knees healthier, his vert
Yeah.
shot up, and he added like 8 to 10 inches to his vertical over the course of a year or two. And it transformed his physique. He went from like a belly to having abs and looking jacked and pretty aesthetic, to be honest, now. And flying off 1 foot, like he couldn't even hit a one-hander off 1 foot when he first started. And he went from that to just hitting windmills and even dunking on Hack, which was pretty funny.
He windmilled on Hack, bro.
Yeah, we have
Also, yeah, the other 2 weeks ago, he hit the Michael Jordan cup dunk.
oh yeah,
Yeah, he hit that as well. So that's pretty cool.
that is pretty cool. And if you want to see that video of him dunking on Hack, windmilling on Hack, you can see that on our website. All these guys, you can see the videos on our website if you want to check that out. But yeah, with him, just getting those two things, so cleaning up his nutrition, getting him eating the right things, getting him moving more, expending more calories each day, getting him on a proper load management cycle, getting his knees right, doing isometrics every day. All those things, like fixing those, I guess, what we would call hidden limiters, yeah, that transformed his vertical. A last example we have is Sam. So he was a rugby background. He was very strong, like Hassan, very strong. Like he could squat. He's 6'4", big guy. He could squat 2x his body weight, crazy strong, but he wasn't jumping high. He was just only hitting two-handers, and he should have been jumping way, way higher for how strong he was. Like, he should have been jumping like 40 plus easily, but he wasn't. He was jumping like low 30s, to be honest, at 6'4". Not very high. And he made insane progress. He went from like, yeah, hitting two-handers, rim grazing two-handers just with like the fingertips to hitting his first between the legs dunk in like 3 to 4 months, which is insane. And like, that's crazy progress. Like, yeah, most people aren't going to be able to make that sort of progress, but for him in that circumstance, he could, because he had so much strength and power behind him from the rugby background, from all the strength and power training he was doing in the past. So the power was there, but he just wasn't tapping into it when he went to jump. He wasn't accessing it. So what we did was we fixed that for him. We got his technique better. We got his dunk technique better. We got his jump technique better. We got him focusing on those things a lot more week to week in his training. And like, that power he had behind him started to transform more and more and more and more and more every week, to the point to where, yeah, he made such an insane transformation. Plus, he lost quite a bit of weight too, which helped.
Yeah. And his strength numbers basically stayed the same as well. So there you go. His ratios went up and he jumped high.
Exactly. So with all these guys, all completely different athletes, and the things that got them jumping higher, like the things we had to focus on in their training, all completely different. We had to take different approaches for everyone. And that's exactly what I did for myself, you did for you, Tom. And if we didn't do this, like, all these guys just never would have made this sort of progress. I would have stayed stuck. I wouldn't be dunking right now. Neither would you, Tom. And that's why we created the jump profiles, and that's why we made it free for you guys to go check out and find out why you're not jumping higher, so then you can get on top of that and actually start making this sort of progress. So once you find your weakness and you target it properly and you attack it and you train it correctly, following like a good system, following good training, like literally everything can change for you, like it did for all these guys we just mentioned, like it did for Tom, like it did for myself. Like it's insane. And we want more people to know about this. And like it's the missing piece everyone needs in their training.
Bro,
And
like, yeah, I feel like people are underestimating where they can get genetically. Like we were saying before, you tell any of our athletes, you somehow go back in time and you tell them, this is where you're going to get to. None of them would believe where they ended up getting to. And yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't think they have it in them to do something crazy. But bro, I'd even go to say, like, if you're over 5'9", maybe even 5'8", and you have like average genetics, I genuinely believe if you like dedicate enough time to training and like actually lock in, you could hit it between the legs dunk. I don't think that's outrageous to say. I don't know what you think, but male, okay, maybe not female, but I think that's a very, very big possibility. It's like Hack's a perfect example of that.
yeah, so that's where people use the argument, oh my genetics are bad, or blah blah blah, this and that and that. Like that's where when you actually understand yourself properly and you focus on your weaknesses, like that doesn't matter like what your genetics are. That's why we
Exactly.
listed out all these different examples. All these guys had different genetics, different circumstances, different strengths and weaknesses. Like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter if you're 5'8", it doesn't matter if you're 6 foot, it doesn't matter if you're strong, it doesn't matter if you're not strong. Like as long as you train properly and identify what you need to work on, you focus on it properly over time, yeah, it's insane. It's insane what you can achieve. Like I surprised myself. If you asked me in 2018, 2019, hey, you would be getting your head at the rim and like windmilling and hitting cup windmills and fucking hitting 360 cup windmills and even back rimming like east bays of dribble. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like I wouldn't believe it. Like I literally would not believe it. But like that's how powerful just knowing this is, and that's why we're sharing it with you guys, so then you can make this sort of progress too.
Yeah, yeah. And also,
Uh,
reframe it in your head. Like, for you guys listening, reframe it. For example, myself, I'm naturally very fast, but I'd say compared to some people, I have a hard time putting on muscle and a harder time putting on muscle and putting on strength. Austin, on the other hand, puts on muscle when he looks at a dumbbell, puts on strength very easy,
It's not
but he's not
true.
very naturally elastic, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
That's like
So
that's only
everyone's
true
got their
for my
strengths
legs,
and everyone's got
man.
their weakness.
That's only
Yeah,
true
okay,
for
sorry.
my legs. Yeah, if my legs with the dumbbell, they like blow up, but my shoulders, no.
They do though. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
if you guys wanted us to help you with this and coach you through it or train you through it, there's a link down below to where you can check that out. But if not, that's okay. Go through, do the gem profile protocol, check that out. We hope this podcast helped you out and give you some insight, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace out, guys.